We're going to be starting tonight, class number 4 on Pirqe Avot. And we have to finish up the Mishnah of Shimon HaSadiq. So we're going to do that in a moment. If you'd like, I can share with you the Pirqe Avot on screen, but I think probably most of you have it, or would you like me to share it on screen? If you want me to, that's not a problem. Anybody like to indicate that they want me to share it? Yeah, I'll do it.
Would you mind sharing it, Rabbi? I don't have it in front of me.
With pleasure.
Thank you.
With pleasure. Here we go. Great, thank you. All right. All right. Pirqe Avot. All right, and share. Okay, how's that? Do you see that?
Yep, perfect. Thank you.
Great. So let's start. Hold on. Okay, so we're reading now, or we were reading the second Mishnah, Shimon HaSadiq. Right? This is the Mishnah that we were studying last time, and what I wanted to explain is what was the point of Shimon HaSadiq. Now, first of all, Shimon HaSadiq, he was actually called, not everybody was called HaSadiq. For example, we have Yosef HaSadiq. Yosef HaSadiq was called Yosef HaSadiq because he had the experience with Potiphera, and he passed the experience, and he showed tremendous self-control. So he's called Yosef HaSadiq. Shimon HaSadiq was called Shimon HaSadiq. Well, first of all, he was a Kohen Gadol for 40 years. But more importantly, when he was Kohen Gadol, the Gemara in Masechet Yoma, Perek Taraf Bakalpi, brings a series of miracles that happened. Please. Hold on one second. Okay, I'm sorry for that. So Shimon HaSadiq brought the Gemara brings a series of miracles that happened in the Bet HaMikdash when Shimon HaSadiq was a Kohen Gadol. And because of these miracles, that's why he was called Shimon HaSadiq. So it's a very special honorary title that we refer to him in that way. Now, Shimon HaSadiq, he says that there are 3 foundations to the Olam. Now, we say in the Tefillah of Yom Kippur, Hayom Harat Olam. What does it mean, Hayom Harat Olam? Does anybody know what that means?
Conceived.
What is it?
The world was conceived.
Right, but it's not really the world, because the world wasn't born on Rosh Hashanah. Rather, what was born on Rosh Hashanah is Adam HaRishon.
The world as we know it.
Right, so civilization. So when we say Hayom Harat Olam, we mean today is the birth of civilization. So, which of course, civilization started with Adam HaRishon, because he was created B'Tselem Elohim, and with this person who's created B'Tselem Elohim is the potential for civilization, and eventually it led to civilization. So when Shimon HaSadiq says Shalosha Davrim HaOlam Omed, what does the word Olam mean? Same thing.
The world as we know it.
The world as we know it, human civilization. You see that? So you see the connection. I see when you understand the Lashon Chazal, you see these connections. And that's what he's talking about. He's saying human civilization. And I asked some questions last week, so I won't repeat the questions. I want to explain what he's saying. He says, human civilization, the harmonious continuity of humanity, let's call it that, depends on 3 things. Al Torah, al ha'avodah, ve'al gemilut hasadim. There is something wrong with the phrasing here. There is 2 things follow a certain pattern, and the 3rd thing doesn't follow that same pattern. That's the key to understanding the words of Shimon HaSadiq. What is a little anomalous in the phraseology?
Well,
Plural?
Singular, one's plural. No?
What? Which one is? I'm sorry. So explain.
Gemilut
Explain yourself.
Chasadim is plural.
Right, okay, right, because, well, okay, first of all, you're right. Gemilut chasadim is plural. I
But also
agree,
gemilut, isn't that a
because
verb?
we believe that, right, so gemilut means to give, right? To give, gemilut. So because we believe that to give one chesed is not enough. It should be a continuous act of hasadim. So if a person once does a chesed to someone, it doesn't make him a person who's considered gomel hasadim tovim.
Right. So there's two nouns, Torah and Avodah, and then gemilut is a verb
Right.
of the noun.
Okay, I agree.
No?
I agree. But how does the word, does it say al Torah, al avodah, al gemilut
Torah,
hasadim?
Avodah, and then just gemilut.
So
Okay.
what does ha Torah mean and what does ha avodah mean?
Oh,
Okay, so now we're beginning to understand. Human civilization requires law. We all understand that. If there wasn't for law, there would be chaos. For those of you who lived through the blackout in the 70s, I did. I remember I was pretty young then, but I still remember vividly the scenes on TV, what was left of New York City the day after. So without law, there's chaos. But it doesn't say law. It says HaTorah. What's the difference between Torah and HaTorah?
HaTorah is referring to the Misorah from Moshe. Torah could mean law in general. HaTorah is...
Yes, correct. Right. Exactly. Torah can mean law, but it says HaTorah. Why is it essential for human civilization to have the Torah? Why not law? Say, human civilization requires law. Why is that not enough? It should be enough, no? But it says, no, it needs HaTorah. We need the
No,
concept
because
of,
law is human made. Torah is from the outside in. So what Shimon is saying is that you need that outside in Torah, like the absolute Torah, in order for the olam, the civilization, to sustain itself. It's not just
Right.
about humans making their own law.
yeah, you're right. You're right. But why? Why do I care if the Torah that we're following, let's say I'm in Singapore and people are following the law, they don't litter on the streets, they're very clean, they're very well behaved. What's wrong with that Torah? Why does it have to be the Torah?
Human law isn't necessarily going to follow what God's law is, and there might be some similarities, but at the end of the day, it's going to be Noach, isn't it?
Okay, let me tell you what I feel about this, and I think that you would, upon hearing what I have to say, I believe you would agree with it. Here's the thing. We have the concept of law. Law is legislated by governments, by legislative bodies. Law can be changed, right? You have a new ruler, you can have a new law. And with the changing governments and the changing legal systems or the changing laws, one has to ask, why is it that laws change? And it's almost always to serve the interest of those in power or to serve the interest of those who put the people in power, right? That's one type of law. And that type of law is great because it does work. It does keep people in order, but it's not what allows human civilization to continue in a stable fashion. You know what the significance of Torah min hashamayim is? And you were talking about it. You said, oh, we have the law that comes from outside in. That's a nice way of putting it. It's Torah min hashamayim. Why is that so important? Because law does not become a tool in the hands of the political elite to manipulate the masses. You know, when the masses feel that the political elite are manipulating them, are using them, are abusing them, what does that lead to? That leads to discontent. That leads to upheavals, and oftentimes it leads to revolutions. The point of Shimon HaTzadik is so profound. It's not just law. Law is not enough. It must be Torah mehashamayim. When you have Torah mehashamayim, you understand that Lislol doesn't come from man. It's not there to serve men. It is coming from God, and it will never change. And with the stability of the law comes the stability of the people ruled by that law. That's why he says HaTorah, and he doesn't just say Torah.
Very
That's
nice.
point number one. Yeah?
Beautiful.
Thank you. Okay. Now I'm going to go to point number 2, and I'm saying the beracha on this water carefully. It's the beginning of the class. And I will remember not to say it a second time. Baruch ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'hakol yamdaro.
Amen.
Okay, that's the first point. The next point is avodah. Avodah means the worship of God. The worship of God can, of course, take place in the Bet HaMikdash. There's Sefer Avodah in the Mishneh Torah, one of the 14 books in the Mishneh Torah, Sefer Avodah, describes the work in the Bet HaMikdash. How do we serve God? How do we worship God? So the answer is, you follow the rules contained in Sefer Avodah, you bring the various korbanot as required, and there's different things that took place in the Bet HaMikdash, from Shirat Halviyim to Avodat HaKohanim. That's all described in Sefer Avodah. There's also personal worship of God. The Pasuk says, V'le'obdo bechol levavchem. V'le'obdo, with an ayin, to worship God. Not in the Bet HaMikdash, but I can worship God individually, in my mind, in my heart, through tefillah, right? That's another way to worship God. So here's the point. It doesn't say avodah. It says ha-avodah. So I'm asking again the same question. What's wrong with avodah? Just worship God. Who cares if it's the avodah? Your
Because
heart is in the
avodah doesn't
right
worship
place.
God. Avodah is a general term, like we said about Torah. Meaning avodah could mean any avodah. Could mean avodah zarah. Could mean, no?
Yeah, but it's saying avodah. So let's assume it's not avodah zarah, because I think avodah zarah, we would all agree. Let me minimize the question and make the question a bit more refined. Why not avodah? Okay, not avodah zarah, agree, but just avodah. What's wrong with that? This is one of the profound points, I think, one of the great profound points. We talk about Andalus and the Hachamim of Andalus. One of the greatest from there was Rabbi Yehuda Halevi. And in the book of the Kuzari, he describes the story of a king. And this king is a pious king. He wants to do what's right. And he keeps having, this is before the Hacham visits him, he keeps having these recurring dreams where it says that if I had to translate it into English, your heart is in the right place, but your actions are not desired, right? And the Chacham eventually shows up to the kingdom, the Khazar kingdom, and then they begin to have this fantastic dialogue. And in the course of the dialogue, the Chacham introduces the following word to the king. That word is ijtihad. Ijtihad is Arabic for fervor. And what the Chacham teaches the king, and I really think this is just one of the profound lessons of our Chachamim, is fervor without law can lead, and you said it before, it can lead to avodah zarah. Fervor without law is exactly the problem with the people who worship the golden calf. The Egel HaZahav was based, says Rabbi Yehuda Halevi, in the book of the Kuzari, not that they didn't want to worship God, no. Not that they believed that the idols were actually various powers in the world, no. They worshipped God not through the halakha, not through as they were prescribed in the mitzvot. They worshipped God through ijtihad, their personal fervor. That's the point of avodah. People want to come close to God. People want to worship God. And the point is, not every worship is desired. And you know why that is? Because if it wasn't for the fact that God tells us, I want you to worship me, who are we to come before God and to impose upon him our ideas? Who are we to come before God and say, God, I'm going to do this now for you? Really? You're going to do this for me? Is that really what you want to do? So that's what Egel HaZahav did. Egel HaZahav said, we're going to make gold. What can be more beautiful than gold? What can be more beautiful than a calf? That's the most beautiful animal in Egypt, representing fertility, and a young calf at that, a young cow, a calf, right? And they thought they were doing a great thing. They thought that through the Egel HaZahav, they were showing tremendous respect to God, Ishtihad. And that's why Avodah is not the answer. If Avodah was the answer, then the Christians would say, well, this is the way we want to worship God. And
That's
if
what I
Avodah was
meant
the
by
answer,
avodah zarah. I don't only mean like idols. I mean like self-serving worship that's without definition or without discipline. It's the same reason we don't bring chametz or dvash in the Beit HaMikdash. Like God is telling us, it's within my boundaries and within my definitions. It's not just whatever you want or whatever you think I would like. Because who are you to think that you know what I would like?
right.
Right.
And that I agree with that. So in that, yes. So in that, based on what you just said, I actually agree with your original point, because Avodah Zarah in Harambam's thinking is not necessarily worship of idol. That's called Avodat Elilim. Avodah Zarah is a terrible avon. I'm not trying to like say it. Avodah Zarah is the worst avon ever. It's to worship God in a way that God didn't prescribe that you worship him. So it's literally, Avodah Zarah means Avodah Shehi Zarah, a foreign worship of God. So just to like finish that story, the Yehuda Levi says that the people who worship the Egel HaZahav in the presence of Har Sinai thought they were doing a great thing. They believed in God. They believed that God created the world, but they thought that they would worship God in this foreign manner. So Avodah Zarah is never desired. You worship God as God tells you to worship him, and that's only in the mitzvot. Within the context of the mitzvot, then you can have worship of God. Outside the context of the mitzvot, you cannot have worship of God. Elliot, you just missed my discussion on ijtihad, so I definitely tell you to look at the beginning of the recording, because I know you would like it very much. We were discussing the concept of ijtihad in the Kuzari and the Yehuda Halevi. So just so you're aware of that. So that's Avodah versus Ha'avodah.
Thank you. I'll check it out. I'll look at the recording.
Yes, okay. So now the question is, and now you understand the point of Gemilut Hasadim. It doesn't say Hag Gemilut Hasadim, right? Or Gemilut Ha-Hasadim, rather. Gemilut Hasadim. I love that. Any act of human kindness, any act.
Nice. Okay,
Right?
now it fits in. Get it.
That's it, any act. You can be Japanese, you can be Chinese, you can be, from Africa, from Egypt. Any kindness that we do, one human being does to another. We're all human beings and we're kind to each other. Just whatever you can do. It's not like Avodah, that's worshiping God. Be careful. No, it's not a free-for-all. That's not a free-for-all. It's not like Torah. Torah, we have laws. But Gemilut Chasadim, you see an opportunity, and these opportunities that just come around us in life. Suddenly something happens. Say, oh my gosh, here's a chance to do just a nice act of kindness to another human being. You grab it. Any Gemilut Chasadim is desired. So those are the three great pillars of human civilization. HaTorah, with the He, Ha'avodah, but any Gemilut Chasadim. That's
very interesting, Rabbi, because how often in life do we intend to do something nice or good and often embarrass someone or hurt someone or make a situation worse? Like that, it's just interesting that one is completely free to be whatever it is, because that could also be corrupt.
Right, it could be. But the point is, Hashem is telling you, I want to open the doors here. I want to open the doors. They're wide open. You have a chance, give somebody food, give somebody, whatever it is. There's always these chances to do things, however they are. And I know sometimes we flop. I mean, you can flop in anything in life. Doesn't mean we shouldn't try to do it. We can, God forbid, flop at our jobs, and we'll get up and we'll try again and we'll try better, But the point being that the door is wide open for Gemilut Chasadim. There's always the opportunity to do Gemilut Chasadim. Even saying good morning to somebody in a nice way, and just making them feel good. That's also a type of Gemilut Chasadim. Just say hello to somebody with a smile. Suddenly they feel good. I was walking in the beach this morning. I saw a guy standing next to me. I could tell he was lonely. I struck up a conversation with him for no other reason than I felt the guy, and he really didn't want to talk. He was happy. He was happy to have somebody to talk to. I saw it. I grabbed it. It wasn't planned. There's nothing in the halakha that says strike up a conversation with the person, but I did it. So that's Gemilut Chasadim. That's the idea of Gemilut Chasadim. Okay. And, when the Mashiach comes, that'll be human civilization. It will be filled with Torah. It will be filled with Avodah, and it will be filled with Gemilut Chasadim, which would be Zochim to see that, that stage, that evolutionary, anthropological stage in human society. All right. Before we go to the next Mishnah, are there any questions on this Mishnah?
Rabbi, was there anything improper about Noah or Abraham, Isaac, and Yaakov offering their own sacrifices to God in the way and manner that they felt appropriate, in the absence of the Torah and specific guidelines on how to worship God?
Right. First of all, that's really a great question, because we know that there's Sheva Mitzvot B'nei Noah. We know the Sheva Mitzvot were given, Adam Arishon actually got 6 Mitzvot, and then Noah got the 7th Mitzvah. But I studied Rabbi David Nieto, one of the great books, Matedan. Rabbi David Nieto was from the 17th century. My father actually wrote a lot of articles about him. I don't remember. But in one of his articles, I'm sorry, let me go back on that. In one of his articles, he points out that Rabbi David Nieto apparently was friendly with Isaac Newton, and he shows what the connection was over there. Anyway, the point is that there was a knowledge that came from God to the Avot. Besides the Sheva Mitzvot B'nei Noah, there was the communication between God and the Avot. We see, of course, in Avraham Avinu, Hashem tells Avraham Avinu, Ki yadati asher esaber banav. Hashem is telling, is saying, I'm going to inform Avraham Avinu what I'm doing in Sodom and Amorah, because Avraham Avinu is somebody that I love. Why is Avraham Avinu somebody that I love? Because I know Avraham Avinu is going to continue instructing his children to follow the laws that I gave him. Now, we know some of the laws that Avraham Avinu got were not Sheva Mitzvot B'nei Noah. So here we see, so the answer to your question, Irving, is that among the wisdom that God gave these tzaddikim is what would be the proper way to worship him. So for example, when Noah, he lets the animals into the ark, he lets in extra behemot tehorot, because those behemot would later on, when they leave the ark, be brought as sacrifices to God. So who told them what the behemot tehorot are? Who told them? What's behemot tehorah? What does it even mean? So here we see that Hashem instructed Noah. This is a behemot tehorah. This is a behemot that you can bring a korban to me. That's behemot she'enena tehorah. Don't bring that, right? So we see that communication, that knowledge was going on, right? So there was a wisdom that came from God, and based upon that wisdom, they had the right to bring the korbanot that they brought. Okay, and Jay Grossman makes an excellent point, absolutely correct. The esh zara, same word, avodah zara, the esh zara that Nadav and Avihu brought, they didn't bring it to idolatry, chas v'shalom. They were great tzaddikim. Nadav and Avihu were gedolei hador. They were, second to Aaron and Moshe, right? So they were great tzaddikim. They brought the esh zara to God. But it was an esh zara. It was a foreign fire. Asher lo siva ota. There was no instruction. Who are you to tell God, I'm going to bring you this extra thing? Really? I need you. I need this. This is what I need. So if you worship God, it is always ha-avodah and not avodah. Okay? All right, let's continue. Unless there's other questions. Okay, I think we're ready now for the next Mishnah. Antignos ish socho. Just so you know, from a historical perspective, Shimon HaSadiq ends the historical era of the Anshe Knesset Gedolah. That's it. That era is over. Anshe Knesset Gedolah was the formation of the new Jewish government in Israel, the Second Commonwealth, and now we're starting with the new historical era. This is going to be the era of the Tanaim, of the Mishnayot. So the oldest, or first Tana, or first chain in the Mishnayot is a person called Antignos ish Socho. So you have the era of the Tanaim that starts with Antignos ish Socho, and it goes all the way down until Rabbeinu HaKadosh. The Rabbeinu HaKadosh was the last Tana. After that era, you had the era of the Emoraim, which started with Rav, Shemuel, Rabbi Yochanan, the Talmidim of Rabbeinu HaKadosh. There was Hachamim that were in the middle, like Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi was kind of in the middle. Actually, Rav and Shemuel, to a certain extent, were in the middle as well. But that was the beginning of the Emoraim. Then you had the period of the Seboraim. Then you have the period of the Geonim. The last Gaon was Rabbeinu Ha'ayeh Gaon. Just as long as we're talking and we're having this conversation, I know people say Rabbeinu Hai Gaon, and I think almost everybody says Rabbeinu Hai Gaon. I was taught to say Rabbeinu Ha'ayeh Gaon. There's a song by actually Rabbi Yehuda Levi, as I recall, and he writes, and in the song he mentions Rabbeinu Ha'ayeh Gaon, and the rhyme doesn't go with the word ayeh. It doesn't go with the word I, it goes with the word ayeh. So the older or original pronunciation is Ha'ayeh Gaon. He was the last of the Geonim. By the way, who knows who the first Hacham of the Rabbanim era is? Because after the Geonim, you have the Rabbanim. Does anybody know who was the first Hacham of the Rabbanim is? Any theories? He was actually, and this is one of my favorite Hachamim, and for those of you who like to study Gemara, is the Meiri, right? It's I think the Perush of the Meiri on the Gemara is just amazing. I mean, I really think it's just an amazing book. Anyway, he has in the introduction to Masechet Pirqe Abot, he says, the first of the Rabbanim is Shemuel HaNagid. Shemuel HaNagid is from the Chachamim of Andalus. So he actually brings it. This is where the Rabbanim era started. But just to give you like a little historical perspective, let's go back to our Mishnah. Okay, so Antignos was the beginning of the Mishnah. Antignos, Ish Socho. He was a city in Judea which was called Socho. Kibel Mishimon HaSadiq. He received the authoritative tradition from Shimon HaSadiq. He was the next in the chain of Hachamim. Hu Haya Omer. Okay, so let me explain this to you. Shimon HaSadiq said three things: Ala Torah, Ala Avodah, Al Gemilut Chasadim. So the next three Mishnayot are going to deal with expounding upon those three things. Antignos Ish Socho is going to expound upon the concept of Avodah. The next Mishnah, let me find it for you here, Yosef ben Yoezer is going to expound upon the idea of Torah, which was from Shimon HaSadiq. And then the third one, Yosef ben Yochanan, is going to expound upon the idea of Gemilut Chasadim. So I want to give you like a map of how these Mishnayot are built, right? So now you see the map, you see the roadmap. Okay, let's actually look at the Mishnah. So I'm going back to Antignos Ish Socho. Is the Meiri no, the Meiri is not in the Andalusian tradition. The Meiri was actually from Chachmei Tzorfat. There was in Tzorfat outstanding Talmidei Hachamim, and the Meiri is in my opinion one of the greatest, and there were others as well.
He was the first Gaon, Cham Abraham.
I'm sorry?
You said he was the first Gaon, the Meiri?
No, Mehila. So the Meiri was from the age of the Rabbanim, the Rishonim, what we would call Rishonim.
Oh, okay, from Surfat. I thought you asked the question who the first Gaon was. Was that did I mishear?
No, I was asking after the age of the Geonim, who the first from the Rishonim, what they call Rishonim, but really the classical term would be Rabbanim. So the age of the Rabbanim are those Hachamim that came after the Geonim, and they're also referred to as the Rishonim. Okay, so the Rabbanim and the Rishonim, those are interchangeable terms. Okay, let's look now at Intignos Ish Socho. We said Kibel Mishmon Sadik. Hu haya omer, Al tihiyu cha'abadim hamshameshin et harab al menat lekabel peras. It says as follows: do not be like those servants that serve their master for the purpose or with the expectation of receiving a peras. I'm going to explain that word in a moment. First, let me finish reading the Mishnah. Ella havu ka'avadim hamshamishim et harav. Rather, you should be like those servants that they serve the master al menat shelo lekabel peras, with the expectation, with the intention, other than receiving a peras, other than receiving a reward. Meaning, the reason your mishamesh et harav doesn't include the expectation of receiving that peras. And finally, vihi mora shamayim alechem. You should have upon you the fear of God. That's a statement. I just translated it for you. I didn't really explain it. I just translated it. Let's take a moment to understand one of the key words here. One of the key words here is the word peras. How do you say, if I work for you, or if you work for me, let's say we enter into a contract and I'm going to pay you money. What is that money called in Hebrew?
Oh, in Hebrew?
In Hebrew. Sachar, yes, correct. Sachar. So interesting. It doesn't say, don't be like those servants who serve their masters to receive sachar. It says peras.
Right, because I mean, on an elementary level, there is a concept of sachar va'onish.
Okay.
It's built in. So you can't say now, don't do it, even though that's ideal. There's still a fundamental element of there being a sachar. So pras must be something that's not intrinsic to the mitzvah, like something that's, I don't know, money or prestige, or something that's a prize or that's a trophy, and it's less of something that's intrinsic or a natural emergence or outgrowth of the mitzvah.
Right. So that's interesting. I'm going to ask you a question in a minute. Let me first tell you the word peras. It's very akin to the word tip in English. If you give somebody a tip, it's because, you don't really have to give it. I mean, I think nowadays, actually, if you go to a restaurant and you don't give a tip, it's probably not a good idea. Not if you want to go to the restaurant a second time. But a peras is like, you're kind of giving somebody a extra reward that, they didn't necessarily expect, but they were looking forward to it. They said, I know if I do a good job, he's going to give me something extra here. That's the peras. It's not sachar. Sachar means something that you are entitled to, right? So what is he saying? He's saying when you serve God, don't do it in mind with thinking about the peras you're going to get. Let me ask you a question. You mentioned sachar before, and you mentioned, well, we sort of are entitled to the sachar. So is it your position that when we worship God, we should do it with the sachar in mind?
No.
Right. So I think what the Mishnah is saying, forget about the sachar for a moment, even the paras. In other words, when we, if I do a mitzvah, Hashem doesn't owe me anything because I did the mitzvah. I did the mitzvah because I am bound to the berit. I am bound to the mitzvot of the Torah. Come hell or high water, that's what I'm doing. I am committed to that. That's a
Yes,
commitment.
but part of the contract is v'haya im shamawa tishmeu. I'm saying this
I
is
will.
part of the contract. I'm not saying that should be the reason why you do it, but it's part and parcel of being committed to the bidi. Is it not?
Yes. Okay. So put that on the side.
Okay.
But we all agree that when we do a mitzvah, we don't do the mitzvah because we say, okay, I'm going to do this. I know now God is going to, boing, give me the money I want. And maybe
But
he'll even
isn't
give me
there a
more.
reward? Isn't there a reward somewhere, somehow?
Okay, so I want to be very careful. Antignos Ish Sochol got into big trouble for writing this Mishnah. Okay, he had two Talmidim. When the two Talmidim heard this thing, they reached a conclusion that there is no Sachar Va'ones. So I do not want to make that mistake. Okay, I'm telling you, he had two Talmidim. One was called Baitos, the other was called Sadok.
And they made sects that went against Judaism.
They ended up going against the Masoret of the Chachamim. They went against the Torah Shebe'al Peh, and they started these two sects. And these two sects were based on the premise that rabbinic Judaism is a fraud, and the only thing we are bound to is the Torah Shebichtab, and we don't require the Torah Shebe'al Peh. So I do not want to make that mistake. So I'm going to be very careful in the way I answer you, Elliot. Okay? I'm going to be very
Not
careful.
going off that far of a path.
Still, but there's people listening, and we don't want people to come out thinking there is no reward and there is no punishment. So let me begin by saying there is absolutely reward for the performance of the mitzvot. There is absolutely punishment for the failure to perform the mitzvot. Sachar va'onish is one of the 13 principles that Harambam brings in his 13 principles. So it's absolutely, unequivocally the case. Here's a problem. Even though there is reward and there is punishment, the question is, what is the reward that I am to expect? And what is the punishment that one is to expect? That's where we have to be a bit careful. I just want to read to you a story because then when I studied this Mishnah, I was thinking, what's a good example? Here's a great example. Let me just bring you the Gemara, Masechet Yevamot, Daf Chof Kaf Aleph Amud Bet. Okay, I'm just going to read to you the story. There was a person called Tanura Banan. Ma'aseh. This Gemara, I got it from my grandfather, Alav Shalom. He lived in Haifa. He was a great Sadiq. So I just smell the pages that I remember being in his Bet Knesset. All right. Tanura Banan. Ma'aseh bebito shel Nehunya Hofer Shihin. There was a person who used to dig wells in the outskirts of Jerusalem so that when people would come to visit Jerusalem, they would have water. You know, back then, there wasn't running water, right? So they needed wells. So he dug these wells. And once his daughter got lost in one of these, because these wells were connected to caves, subterranean tunnels. His daughter got lost in one of these wells. They went to Rabbi Hanina ben Dosa, was one of the great Tanaim, and he was considered a Hasid. And because he was a Hasid, his tefillah was accepted. And this is what happened. The first hour, an hour passed, he says, don't worry, everything is fine. This is what Rabbi Hanina ben Dosa is telling the people. They want to know what's happening to this poor girl, she's lost. Just don't worry, shalom. Just 1 second. Yeah, okay. Sha'ah sheniyah amar lahem shalom. The second hour, he says, don't worry, everything is good. She was lost time for 2 hours. He said, everything is good. Shelishit amar lahem alta. The third hour, he says, not only everything is good, she just found her way out of the boat. She's good. She escaped. Amar la biti mi ha'elach. So they brought this young girl before Rabbi Hanan ben Dosa. Says, how did you find your way out? Amra lo zachar shel rechelim nizdamen li bezaken manhigo. I saw a male sheep, and I saw an older person, an old man, guiding this male sheep, right? This, of course, is a mashal for Abraham Avinu and the zechut of the Akedat Yitzhak, because eventually he brings the Zachar Shel Rechelim instead of bringing Yitzhak. Okay. Amru lo, Naviata? So anyway, now they turn to the Bichanem Dosan and say, how did you know that at the third hour she escaped? Are you a prophet? Amar lahem, lo navi anochi, velo ben navi anochi. I'm not a prophet. I'm not the son of a prophet. But I know the following. Davar shehasadik mit'asek bo, yikashel bo zar'o. Is it possible that something that a Sadiq is involved in this case, the Sadiq is Nehunya Hofer Shirhin, and he's involved in digging wells for thirsty people. Is it possible that he would be harmed by this? That his children will be harmed by the tremendous mitzvah that he did? No, it's not possible. And that's why I knew that this girl will escape. But that's not the end of the story. So at this point, everybody's like, yeah, that's a great story. Totally get it. But now let me read to you the end of the story. Amar Rabbi Abba, afal pichen. Nevertheless, says Rabbi Abba, met beno besama, his own son, the son of Nehunya, Hofer Shichin. There was some sort of famine, and his son, I don't know. I don't know what the situation is, so I take that back. His son died of thirst. And the pasuk says, Shene'emar v'svivav nis'ara me'od. The closer you come to God, the more stormy it is. Melamed, she'akadosh baruch hu medakdek im sevivav kehut ha'sa'ara. It teaches us that if somebody is close to God, somebody is in the presence of God, there's a different standard of judgment that Hashem holds that person to. So, is there sachar va'onesh? Yes, there is. Where is the ultimate sachar and where is the ultimate onesh? It's not in this world. In this world, what we have are experiences. These experiences may be pleasant or they may be unpleasant. But here's the thing. A pleasant experience is not necessarily a beneficial experience. A pleasant experience is not necessarily a sachar. It's not necessarily a reward. An unpleasant experience is not necessarily a punishment, right? So we always associate sachar va'onesh, oh, this was pleasant, I had a good ice cream. This was unpleasant, right? But that's not the way God looks at this world. We look at the world as a series of experiences, and I want to have fun and I want to enjoy myself, and the more pleasantness, the better. And I want it. I'm not going to lie. I want pleasant experiences, and I pray to God every day for pleasant experiences. But God has a different measure. It's not about Disney World. You want pleasant experiences, you go to Disney World and you see Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck and your favorite childhood cartoon characters. That's pleasant experiences, but that's not necessarily beneficial experiences. God wants to benefit us in this world. So he will give us some pleasant experiences, but he's not going to allow us to be harmed. And that's why it's so important to understand there is sachar for the mitzvot, but things get messed up in this world. So can I say that every tzaddik, his whole life was pleasant? No. There were many tzaddikim who had many unpleasant experiences. And we just read about a person called Nehemiah Hofer Shichin, who was such a tzaddik. What he did was he dug wells for thirsty people, and his own son dies of thirst. Go figure that out. You can't. So that's the point.
They're making it, it's like an ironic, something ironic about it.
Right. I mean, it's not just ironic. It means we have to be a little humble in the presence of God.
It's like the story of Elisha ben Abuya when he sees the man, the son respecting his father by doing shiluach haken, both of which you're rewarded with a long life, and the kid falls off the ladder and immediately dies, and that's when he apostatizes.
Exactly correct. So the point is, don't hold God to the standards of what we consider to be sachar and what we consider to be onesh. That would be a mistake. That would be a mistake. So I'm not saying there's no sachar. There is sachar and there is onesh, and there's even sachar in this world, and there's even onesh in this world. But that's not the ultimate sachar, and that's not the ultimate onesh. And if you're going to start making these calculations, you're going to get totally off track. As Elisha ben Abuya, you just very correctly.
Rabbi Abraham, just a qualification. Do we actually specify it as sachar in Olam Hazeh? Do we actually categorize it that way?
That's a great question, Nathan. I want to show you what Harambam writes in Ilchot Teshuvah, Perek Tet. Perek Tet. What he says is, he brings there all the pesukim of Sachar va'onesh, and he says, yes, in this world there is Sachar, but the purpose of the Sachar in this world is to benefit you and help you grow in a proper fashion so you can get the final Sachar in Olam Haba.
He uses that word Sachar?
Yes, yes.
Wait, okay. Is it? You have it? I mean, are you reading it?
Yes. Oh, are you not shared? It's shared, right?
No, I see it. I just don't know where you're reading. Which Tet, what?
Highlighted for him.
Yes. Let me read this.
כל אותן הדברים אמת היו ויהיו בזמן שאינו עושים כל מצוות התורה, יגנו עלינו טובות עוברים עליהם הרעות הכתובות, אף על פי כן אין אותן הטובות הן סוף מתן שכרן.
Sof matan secharan shebisot. It's not the ultimate sachar, but it's a partial sachar. Does that answer your question? It's a partial sachar.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Well, let's go back to Pirqe Abot.
Oh, I'm only asked because I once learned, I want to just say this for everybody, that there can't be sachar in Olam Hazeh because it's temporary. How could you call, a fortune sachar? Or a big house, sachar. That's someone once told me that. So it's in my mind.
Right. So what we call the good experiences that we have in Olam Hazeh, we call it a provisional sachar. And we also hope that those good experiences are for our benefits, because Shlomo HaMelech in the book of Kohelet, he brings situations where somebody gets some, tremendous wealth, but it's there to bring him down. You also have that. So not every time a person has a tremendous bonanza, that might not be a sachar.
Right.
So it depends on the situation. Hashem is always measuring people and measuring situations.
Unbelievable.
Yes.
Thank you.
Of course. So I want to get back to Antignos Ish Socha and tell you what he's saying. If you're going to worship God with the expectation of reward, you're going to be very disillusioned. It doesn't work like that. It's just, what can I say? I know we want to say, oh, put the red string, I don't know, do this and do that. I used to take the car and when I'm in Israel, I used to listen to the radio, and so I always like to listen to like a Torah class. So they have what time is it? Okay, we have a minute. They have a station called Kol Barama, and they have Shiurei Torah from different Chachamim, Harav Ovadia Yosef, Alav Shalom, now Rabbi Yitzchak Yosef. But sometimes they'd have like, advertisements, and like, so some of the advertisements were like, the Ilan HaKadosh, buy the Ilan HaKadosh. If you buy the Ilan HaKadosh, you'll have Yeshuot, Nechamot. People have tried it, people who were looking to get married, and they bought the Ilan HaKadosh. Ilan HaKadosh means the holy tree. Or there was another type of advertising, buy the holy Gavia, the holy grail, a grail, like a silver goblet. Buy it, it's been tested. Many rabbis who we can't mention their names because they're so holy and they're so great, they told us not to mention their names. But they told us if you buy this holy goblet, which by coincidence costs, was it 300 shekels a month for 36 months, you will solve all your problems. I only wish things were that easy. But the truth, they're not. What are you going to do? Life is far more challenging than buying a holy grail or buying a holy tree or whatever else. It just doesn't work like that. So if you're going to worship God, be honest with yourself. You know what the right reason to worship God is? Right? Me'ahava, from love. You're committed to the berit, the same way a husband is committed to his wife, and a wife is committed to her husband. It's an act of love, right? There's loyalty. Does it benefit me? Right? Not all the times it's beneficial, but you have this berit between the husband and the wife. Hareat mikudeshet li, right? And we have the berit between Am Yisrael and God. We say ve'erastich li le'olam, ve'erastich li b'sedek v'mishpat v'chesed v'rachamim, ve'erastich li be'emunah ve'yada'at et Adonai. We are bound to God through the berit, and we love, and we're committed to God. So do all marriages include only pleasant experiences? Yes, in Hollywood romance movies. But in real life? No. And does it mean that immediately something goes wrong, that's it? No, we try to make it work. I mean, sometimes, listen, there's times when we get divorced. Okay, the Torah says that there's a mitzvah aseh deoraita to give a get. Well, that's a mitzvah aseh. But the commitment and the love and the loyalty between husband and wife says that even if things don't go well, we're committed to each other. And that's why we worship God. It's a commitment. So the Jewish people went through the Galuyot, and we went through persecutions, and we went through all the Asara Haruge Malchut and all the inquisitions. Doesn't matter. We're committed. We're committed. That's the real answer. The Ilan HaKadosh is fun if you want to raise money from people. Okay, whatever. I'm not endorsing it, but it's not real. It's not emet. The emet, life is challenging. Life is really tough. And if you're not committed to God, if you don't love God, you're in it for the wrong reason, and you're going to be disillusioned. That's the lesson of Antignos Ish Socho. You got it?
Are we going to look at the end of the Mishnah?
Yes, that's a great question. And here's the next point. Vihi mora shamayim alechem. So we have to worship God me'ahava, right? The greatest level of doing the mitzvot is say, you know what? And it's happened to me. And I assume it's happened to many of you. When you're doing a mitzvah, and oftentimes it takes a tremendous effort, but you do it and you say, I don't care. I'm doing this because God told me to do it, and I'm happy. I'm happy that's what he told me to do. End of story. It's the most redeeming thing you can do in your life. Just do the mitzvah, believe in it. Believe in God, believe in the love and that God gives to us and the love that we give back to God. That's the lesson of Antignos Ish Socho. But then he ends with the Mishnah, and he says as follows, and this is so important. Let the fear of God be above you.
Is he
So
saying
this-
that that's the way that you should worship God? Meaning, is that an addendum to the Mishnah, or is that his remedy to being somebody who is worshiping God Amanat Lekabel Pras?
It's an addendum, and I will explain. There is a particular story, and I'm sure many of you heard it, and they attribute the story to a particular rabbi. And I'm not going to mention the rabbi's name because I don't believe in the story. I don't believe in it. And anytime I hear a story that they say, oh, this rabbi did this, and the story is something that I would consider to be negative, I say it's just a story they made up and they took that rabbi. So the story goes that there's a great Hasidic rabbi, and it's Yom Kippur at night, and he goes to a bar in the local, in the town, the local tavern in the town, and he has a drink, and he's drinking, and it's Yom Kippur at night, and he takes out his, he has like a pinkas, he has like a notebook, and he says, God, you did this and this to me. This year I lost money here, and this year, I don't know, that happened to me. A whole list of grievances, and I know you have grievances against me. I have grievances against you. L'chaim, we're equal. It was Yom Kippur at night. Okay. And that's an approach to Torah, which of course is not only Christian and not only anti-halacha and anti-Torah. It's an approach to Judaism that is, in a sense, arrogant. You know, who are you to sit down and tell God, you did this to me, I did this to you, now we're even? No, we believe, yes, we love God. God loves us. He's not our friend. He's not our equal. Have yirat shamayim. Don't go cuckoo with ahavat Hashem and think, oh, we're friends. He loves me. I love him. I can walk into the middle of the street and, no car is going to hit me, and I can go to a minyan and not get corona, and I can do anything I want to do, and it's okay because everything is love. And no, that's incorrect. That is absolutely pasul. You may love God, but do it with fear. That's the pasul. You worship God with happiness at the zechut to do the mitzvot. But you may be happy, but you should also be very fearful. He's not our friend. So you understand this point of combining love with fear. Ahava with yirah. That's the correct combination. Only yirah, no, that's not true. That's not proper. Only ahava, like some of the, that particular ideology. And I have a lot to say about that because I have so many stories from Israel that were just so amazing. So I can really give a class just about that, but I'm not going to do that now. We have about a minute left. But the point is, so only
They
ahava,
happen here also, don't worry.
I'm sorry?
They happen here also.
Right. So only ahava gets a little cuckoo, to say the least. Have ahava. What does that mean? I love the fact that I can do the mitzvot. I feel so privileged. I love God. I understand the depth of having a God and a creator and all that. But b'yirah, he's not your friend, and you don't understand everything. And Nehemiah, Hofer Shichin, who did what he did, and his own son died of thirst. And Rabbi Hanina ben Dosa, that Chassid in the story, who people came to him because they wanted to know what's happening, and they knew that he would see in his mind what's happening. He himself, his wife didn't have food to cook chalot on Shabbat, right? He was suffering. There's a whole story in the Gemara about that. So, yirah, have fear of God, have humility, have fear of God. You don't understand everything. You never will. That's the lesson. And even though we never will, love God. We have such a privilege. We have Torah, we have mitzvot. We're going to end up in Olam Haba. It's tremendous. The connection between Am Yisrael and Kudsha Berichu is so strong. It's just unbreakable. And we're part of Am Yisrael. So that's a great lesson I wanted to bring to you today. And if you have any questions, now would be the time.
I have a question.
Yes, please.
Why isn't it enough for him to say, Al tiyu kavadin hameshamshin et harav amanat lekabel pras? Why does he have to then say, rather be like the people who are going to do it not to get a pras? Why can't he just say, don't do it this way?
Right. Because you should, that's a great question. Because you should specifically get it out of your mind Don't be passive. You okay? That's not the real reason. No. Do it, and that's why I brought that story. There's times when you do something and you're suffering in a sense from what you're doing, and you still do it with love. Meaning, it's not enough just to say, okay, I know I'm not getting rewarded, or I'm not looking at the reward. I take back the last sentence. I am getting rewarded in Olam Haba, but it's actively say, I don't care for the reward. That's how you should say. When the Bi Akiva was getting tortured to death for teaching Torah, he actually told himself, I don't care for the reward. I'm doing this because I believe in it. You see how extreme you have to be in that particular approach?
That's such a high level. It's so hard.
But
It's very hard.
But if you do
You
it,
gotta
Ali,
be. It gotta be some instant gratification that you want.
the instant gratification will come from the bond you form between your neshama and HaKadosh Baruch Hu from that approach. And there's nothing more gratifying than doing it like that.
Right.
Okay?
Okay.
All right, this
Thank
week,
you.
Thursday, Perashat HaShavua, Tfadalu. For those of you who didn't hear last week's class, a lot of people thank God enjoyed it. So I recommend get onto the YouTube channel, see it there. And this Thursday at 8:45.
No iPhone mishap.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Thursday, 8:45. Fadal, Nathan.
Thank you.
All the best.
Thank you,
Have a good night.
Rabbi.
Thank you, Rabbi. Thank you.
Baruch.
Richard, thank you.
Thank you,
Right.
Rabbi.
Good night.
Thank you.
Very good.
Bye, Mike.
Take care.
Good night.
That's all.
Take care, Rabbi.